Hello and welcome to the second episode of Sutton United Talk Time on Podcast, the Sutton Podcast. For all the songs featured today, please visit www.suttonpodcast.co.uk and then the featured artist section. There is also a Spotify playlist available. This week I'll be discussing the last couple of matches, FA Cup memories and chicken nuggets. Joining me will be my guest long-standing supporter Sarah Aitchison and midfield player Nicky Bailey. But first, here's Nielsen Reaveley with his brand new song, Modern Monopoly.
It never sleeps, full of men and women off their feet, busking at Liverpool Street. Catch a stranger's side to make ends meet. Not to mention Hoxton, where I made friends and lost some. I'm a long way from Mayfair, I'm a long way from Park Lane, learning from my mistakes, 2 steps back again. Staring at the shore, beautiful facade, using my Oyster card. Not a dime to my name, but I'm not ashamed. Picking pennies on my guitar case. The very wharf makes me feel a dwarf. Skyscrapers leave me feeling in awe of London, can't get enough. The night lies ahead of this big red bus. Zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, stamping my authority, making my way around a board of modern monopoly. Kicking south, east, north and west, greeted at Downing Street by another protest. Stratford's multicolored lights draped over where we spent hot summer nights. 1 a.m. and there's no heading back. Lost in Camden, I reach for the map. I'm a long way from Mayfair, I'm a long way from Park Lane, learning from my mistakes, 2 steps back again. Staring at the shore, beautiful facade, using my Oyster card. Not a dime to my name, but I'm not ashamed. Picking pennies on my guitar case. The very wharf makes me feel a dwarf. The skyscrapers leave me feeling in awe of London, can't get enough. The night lies ahead of this big red bus. Zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, stamping my authority, making my way around a board of modern monopoly. The screeching of tubes, exchanging of words, another street fight, completely absurd. A distant siren, another broker sighing, scared of losing power, just in time for rush hour. Staring at the shore, beautiful facade, using my Oyster card. Not a dime to my name, but I'm not ashamed. Picking pennies on my guitar case. Good Mary Wharf makes me feel a dwarf. Skyscrapers leave me feeling in awe of London, can't get enough. The night lies ahead of this big red bus. Zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, stamping my authority, you're making my way around the board of modern monopoly. Of modern monopoly.
That was Modern Monopoly by Nielsen Reaveley. For more information, you can follow him on Twitter, which is at Nielsen Reaveley, or his page on my site. Now for the first guest. Hi Sarah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi Mike. I'm not sure what you want to know, but I grew up in Sutton in a very much non-football fan family, so I'm the only one, and just turned up at Sutton one day when I was 13. And I've been going ever since.
So you just randomly decided that I want to see a football match and you went down to Gander Green Lane. Do you remember?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you remember anything about the game, what the game was?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I won't forget that one in a hurry. It was an FA Cup first round proper replay against Kidderminster Harriers, and it went to penalties. So it was a bit of a long drawn out affair, but I really enjoyed it from start to finish. I think I was a bit hooked from then.
You got the exciting game out of the way, and then...
Yeah, absolutely. And then the next game was 2-2 draw with Yedding.
Even better, excitement all the way.
Yeah, that was not an exciting game.
And as I mentioned, you've obviously you've been supporting quite a long time, and you are very much a home and away fan. You're not someone like me who just sort of goes to the home games and every now and away games. You're fully committed to this. You're home and away.
That's right. I've missed one game in nearly 14 years, and that's because they wouldn't let me out of hospital because I'd just given birth.
I think they could probably let you off that one.
I'm still angry.
But she's been coming to the games as well, so it kind of makes up for it, though, surely, doesn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. You also were in the group of fans that were the Barrow 10 or 13, and the Woodford.
Yeah, but I'm still not quite sure about that.
There was 30% hiding away somewhere. And you're in the Woodford, the small group that went to Woodford as well. So you're one of the very few people that's in both of those small groups.
Yes, that's right. The Woodford 15. There's not a big overlap between the two.
No, I think I was trying to work out the other day, and I think we kind of worked out there might be 3 or 4, so you could all fit in a mini rather than a coach. Yeah.
Although I'm not sure Nick could fit in a mini with his long
legs. No. To be fair, you could dangle out the window. You also. Certainly not now, because obviously life's changed a little bit, but you used to do quite a lot of volunteering down the club as well?
Yes, I did sort of a bit of this and a bit of that, yeah. Whatever the club needed, I'd try and be there. You were there.
And I remember quite distinctly the madness of, I can't actually remember the year now, I think it was 2010-11, when we were in the Ryman League and you made a decision to cycle to all the games.
Yes, that was 10-11.
That was 10-11, and you were cycling to all the games. I know it was the Ryman, but they were still quite distant. Well, Lowestoft, I think you went to one, so 80 odd miles.
That was the furthest.
Yeah, it was 80 odd miles, is it?
No, it's 131
miles. 130 odd miles. Sorry, I've just done yourself.
I think I can still remember all the distances.
And you, that was for the. I have to admit, I'd almost forgotten the Football Development Fund, which was a project set up to try and. Sort of start the football in the community almost, the whole youth teams, or just everything really that we're seeing fruits of now.
That's right, we've come a long way since then, haven't we? Even in that relatively short space of time.
Well, it seems like such a long time when you sort of say, oh, it's 2010-11, that's sort of 7-8 years ago, but realistically it's not that far really.
But considering what you've achieved in that time as a club, it's not very long at all, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's insane really. Right, we're just going to quickly touch on the recent games. We've played Wrexham at home, which was 1-1, and Torquay away. You were at both matches. Have you got any thoughts on the Wrexham game, first of all?
That was your classic game of two halves, really, wasn't it? With Wrexham mainly dominating the first half and us kind of holding our own in the second. I thought we battled very well in that game. I was not... Wrexham are a very good side, and I don't ever expect Sutton to lose, but I wouldn't have been entirely surprised to get less out of it than we did, to be quite honest.
Yeah, quite right. I mean, it was. Wrexham are a big team. They're not a small non-league team. They're a league team playing non-league, and to think we could sort of come away slightly disappointed is again a very strange experience when you think back to where we were those few years ago that we were just discussing. But disappointing.
Big crowd as well. I mean, a few years ago that would have been unthinkable.
Well, I actually think it came up on my time hop recently where we were talking about it was a Wrexham time similar time of year, and we were delighted we'd just got over 1,600 to the game. And then I think the next year it was 2,600. Now I'm always getting these figures wrong, but I'm fairly sure it was something like that because it was fairly recently I saw it. But the Torquay match, that was a bit more goals in that, a bit more up and down. How was that? It sounded very, very interesting from the commentary on SUTV.
It was certainly entertaining. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but it was definitely entertaining. It was one of those games where you're never quite sure what's going to happen next, really. And no, it was enjoyable. A lot of people have said a few things about the officials. I think both sides there's been some comments from both sides that are not particularly pleased with them. Now, I'm someone who generally tries to avoid commenting on the performance of referees. So I'm not going to say too much about it, especially since if I did, I don't think you'd be able to include that in your podcast. I think whether that influenced the result, I don't know. But that was certainly something that kind of overshadowed the game a little bit. It was a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. Well,
from the commentary, it definitely sounded like we were on top. We had our new signing Byron scoring his first goal.
Which was wonderful. But the only problem with that for us away supporters is that it happened in the end that we weren't standing at. We were put behind the other goal, so we didn't unfortunately get a very good view of it.
I'm sure he's going to be one of the strikers that scores lots for us. Hopefully, not.
Let's hope so, because strikers tend to come to Sutton and not do as well as expected.
Yeah, the curse of strikers at Sutton. But the equaliser was, well, fairly controversial. People there were saying 3 reasons. One, it wasn't a corner. 2, Jamie was fouled, and people felt that Craig was off the pitch, and therefore the player was offside. I think the last one was kind of sorted out that he wouldn't have been offside, but still 2 reasons to disallow the goal. But as you mentioned, I think Torquay were also unhappy with when we scored, the time added on.
Yeah, there were rumbles of discontent all over the ground.
Yes. But we again went for it. We didn't just settle for when it was 2-2, an away draw. I think we had 3 strikers on at the end. And but it was a defender who actually won us the penalty.
Yes, yeah, Louis John had a great game. He's one of those players. He's solid. You can pretty much rely on him. I mean, he's come a long way since he's been playing for Sutton. Actually,
he has indeed. He's one of the massive improvements. But he danced his way into the box and got fouled for a penalty, and upstood another defender, Jamie, to coolly slot home. Were you nervous? Were you watching it at the time, or were you watching through fingers, or looking away?
It's quite fun. Oh, I never look away. I never look away when we've got a penalty, if I can possibly help it. It was quite funny because it was just moments before the penalty was given, and I thought, I've got a really good feeling about this. And then we were given a penalty, or that was before the incident. And then the incident happened about 2 or 3 seconds later. But that doesn't usually happen. Normally you have a good feeling or a bad feeling. It's just, nothing.
Well, I was going to stand next to you. Yeah. I was going to get the in-play betting going.
Sorry?
I was going to get the in-play betting going if you knew that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wish. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, well, Jamie, he's got... It's funny, I've noticed sometimes when he takes a penalty, he will look incredibly nervous just before he takes it. But then as soon as he starts moving, you can tell he's got it. He just switches from all this heavy breathing and sort of stamping around to suddenly... He's the coolest in the world.
Yes, that final...
Cool as a cucumber.
That final puff of the cheeks. Yeah,
I wonder if it's an act.
Well, it's the final puff of the cheeks that you're like, oh yeah, he's got it now. Yeah. He just stands there and he's all right, I'll finish with all that, I'm concentrating now. Okay, well, we're just going to take a quick break for a moment. We're just going to play another little song. This is Ghouls, and it's called Internet Famous.
So from the internet, it doesn't work as an outlet. And you're becoming obsessed, addicted to a process. But none of this is real. They're not who they say they are. A highlight reel, uploads of the best parts. Just off the biography, still geography, pictures of where they've been. They sorted out like the rest of us, or at least they appear to be. Internet life regrets. I wish I'd spent less time on the internet. Top 10 life regrets. I wish I'd spent less time on the internet. Top 10 life regrets. I wish I'd spent less time on the internet. Top 10 life regrets. I wish I'd spent less time on the internet. Jealous of the biographies, the geography, pictures of where they've been. It's sorted like the rest of us, or at least they appear to be. I'm from down the life regret. I wish I spent less time on the internet. It's sorted like the rest of us, or I wish I spent less time on the internet. Internet famous.
Internet Famous by Ghouls, who can be found on Facebook and Twitter at Ghouls UK. Again, further information is on www.suttonpodcast.co.uk. And now back to the interview with Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Just wanted to chat again about the great FA Cup run that we had last year. Obviously, the anniversary of the Arsenal game was this week. What were your overriding memories of the cup run last year from sort of the first match, Forest Green?
Well, I don't know what hasn't been said about this already, really. But, it's absolutely magical, wasn't it? From the moment we had drawn Forest Green for our first match in that run, I thought we'd had it. It was one of the most difficult draws we could have got at that stage. And I honestly, I know I said earlier that I never expect Sutton to lose, but that goes out the window when it comes to cup games, doesn't it? And I thought, how are we going to get past Forest Green? And then, of course, Rory Deacon with his injury time winner saved us a Tuesday night trip to Gloucestershire, which he did again, of course, against Cheltenham a few weeks later. So that was he was my favourite for a while after that, because who wants to trek there on a Tuesday night. Then, of course, there was the game at Dartford, which, of course, to use a tired old cliche, potential banana skin there, because they were doing well.
They were flying at the time. I remember being very nervous about that game, I have to admit. Like you, I thought we were out against Forest Green. I thought I would rather have gone out to them than a team in the division below us. But that was just a mad game of football.
That was quite a day out, wasn't it? Dartford's always a difficult place to get a result. I never travelled there particularly happily, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Certainly travelled home happily that day. My friend and I worked out that it was something like 80 something pence per goal we paid to watch that match. And they just kept on flying in, didn't they? There was, 5 minutes and then another 5 minutes, and we were just... we were making absurd suggestions about how many goals we were going to end up with. But it was fairly evenly matched, especially in the first half. Both teams were scoring goals aplenty, and it was only really later on in the game.
Yeah, it's almost as if at half time they kind of was in the channel going, right, stop messing around now, boys. You've had your fun.
Whose turn is it to score next?
Yeah. But that was, again, a great game to be at. It was a bit bewildering, a bit sort of like, I can't believe what we've just seen with that match, and then obviously that took us into the second round, and we had a League Two club, which obviously you mentioned, Rory once again, and that put us into the third round for the first time in many years.
Wimbledon came out the hat, and of course again I thought, we've had it then.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit of an odd draw, because we're in the third round for the first time in ages, and it was Wimbledon, and it was like, well, it's good. Could have been better, but I suppose it's local. But it was a sellout. It was a huge crowd.
Indeed.
there.
The whole, you mentioned that the whole run was local. We played we played all those games, and we never left the M25.
No, absolutely, that's true. There wasn't.
Thanks for that, Rory.
Yeah.
If it weren't for you, we would have done.
But the Wimbledon one, lots of complaints about the magic pitch, that there was obviously a massive advantage to us.
Yes, which is quite funny when you consider when we had the replay and we went to their ground and their pitch was absolutely dreadful, and I didn't hear any complaints about it from them after that.
No, they didn't really complain an awful lot because, I mean, they were busy getting the cows and stuff off their pitch, I think, and the ball was hardly on the pitch for most of the game. But that, again, was another just wonderful, wonderful game.
That was amazing, absolutely amazing. Now, a ground like Kings Meadow with a huge crowd like that in it, it's packed and the atmosphere was incredible. And I'm not a tall person, as most people who know me have noticed. And towards the end of the match, and in the second half, we were kicking towards the other end. And right at the end of the game, and everyone was getting quite excited, and we all sort of trying to all sort of lean over the barrier to see what was going on. And I couldn't see very well. I couldn't see the other end very well. And I just heard this almighty cheer erupt. I felt it before I heard it. It was, all around the away end. And I thought, at first, I didn't know whether that was the final whistle or we'd scored a third goal. And it took me a few seconds to realise that we'd actually scored. And I was already going a bit crazy, but either way, I knew we'd won. Yeah, and that was something that will stay with me forever, I think.
Well, I think one of the moments for me on that match was can't remember the score, but it was Eastie's challenge on the near side near us, and it was a hefty challenge, but in hindsight, in watching the replays, it was an absolutely fair challenge, but it really just galvanised the support, because I think before then there was that sort of still not sure, we got the replay, aren't we lucky? And then when it kind of went in, it was like, no, you know what, we can do this.
That was a we mean business moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, absolutely, and it was a real defining moment of the match, and obviously things went on and we did well, and it was, I didn't go because I'm a good boy and I had work the next day, but it was all back to the bar. Did you partake?
I didn't. I was pregnant at the time, so I wasn't drinking. Yes. But apart from that, I did consider going back to the bar, but then I decided to be good. And I really regret that now. I should have just gone back to the bar. I should have thought, I'd just sod it. I'll just go anyway and just join the fun. But no.
I was feared I wouldn't be seen for days afterwards, so that's one reason why I didn't definitely go. But of course, after that, we were up against the mighty Leeds and 100% Championship club. It's been nice, but we're going to be out now. That's it.
Yeah,
it's the end of it now. Leeds at our place, which some people, I think we were saying previously another time, was we're getting revenge for something that happened in
1970.
Yeah, 47 years ago.
I didn't think we were going to get 6-0, but actually, when Leeds came out, that was the moment when I thought, I stopped thinking we're going to lose at that point. I was like, let's go for it. We're going to enjoy it no matter what happens. At that point, I just thought, I'm not going to be disappointed if we lose. But actually, I didn't necessarily feel like we were going to lose. I couldn't quite believe, if someone said we're going to win, I wouldn't have quite believed it. But at the same time, I wasn't going in thinking, this is going to be fun, but we're going to lose.
No, I mean, it wasn't the strongest lead side, but still there were, I think it was actually Nick who worked out there was quite a few internationals in that side, and he worked out the value of them as well for the transfer market or something like that.
Oh really? I'd be interested to know what that was.
I can't remember if it was him or someone else now, but someone I'm sure had worked it all out, and it was these are proper, these are good players, they're professional footballers, they play football day in and day out. So it wasn't going to be taken away from us, and of course Jamie with his penalty again.
Oh, yes.
And then the circus went up to 11 with the arrival of Arsenal.
Watching the draw, I was saying to my friends, it's going to be a Premier League team, because we'd had a team from every other division, from the National League South up to the Championship, and it really annoyed me because my brain likes to have things in order.
Yes,
and it really annoyed me that the National League South team and the National Division team were in the wrong order.
Yes,
and it went Forest Green then Dartford instead of the other way around.
Had it been the other way, it would have been wonderful. But yeah, it was just surreal. The whole thing, the whole surround of it, the press. I don't know about you. I fairly often wear my hat and scarf around, and for the first time in years, you've got people knowing it's Sutton, not instead of who's that. They knew who you're supporting.
There were some very surreal moments, weren't there? I mean, for me, the defining moment really was I've turned up to our ground for a match. That's something I've been doing for 20-something years. But this time, it was a bit strange because it was a Monday, and it was a bit strange because it was an 8 o'clock kickoff, and it all felt a bit strange. And you walk down the street and there's a strange atmosphere. And then I'm on the terrace and I look up, and they're standing on our touchline at Little Old Guns Green Lane. Is Arsene Wenger just exactly the same as he stands at all the Premier League grounds, with his hands in his pockets, watching intently, just like he always does, and it just felt so strange.
Yeah, I mean, the nervous excitement, the nerve-sightement, as I started saying, was getting too much, so I decided to leave and wander down about an hour and a half early, and I thought, right, it's a bit silly, but I'll soak it all up, and I was 3 deep from the side. So the spot I'd been standing on the whole cup run, I was about two spaces behind it, because there were just so many people there. And then, of course, say Arsene Wenger there, but up in the corner you had Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker in the BBC studio.
Yeah, Gary Lineker waved to us. He just sit there and just waved to us. And that was a bit of a strange moment.
The whole thing was just extremely strange, and
it was like a dream. It was one of those dreams you have when you're a kid, and you know you're all dreaming about football.
I mean, obviously they beat us, or they were beating us, and Rory hit the bar. Which
it wasn't a thrashing by any stretch, was it?
No, it definitely. If that had gone in a few inches, if that had been a few inches lower and gone in, I think there would have been a bit of a few nervy moments for Arsenal.
That would have. Who knows? Who knows what direction the game would have taken after that?
But even when I put Sanchez on for the I think you said the moment to sort of say, look, hang on, this is real. This is a proper club and proper taking it seriously. And I do very much remember Jamie introducing himself a little bit to Sanchez. I think he was pushing him over at one point, didn't he?
That's a very tactful way of saying.
Yeah, but I saw the interview with Wenger on TV. Obviously, I've recorded it. I've still got it. But there was this, just when they sort of was saying about how the small ground and how it's so small, making a big thing out of it's so tiny. There was just this strange little smile on his face, and you could just see from that little corners of his mouth curl up that you think he loved it. He loved every moment of that, and I think he kind of was telling his players, no, you think how lucky you are. This is real football.
Yeah, I think you're right. They showed us a lot of respect, didn't they? They really did.
Absolutely. It was amazing. It was wonderful. And the other strange thing about it was knowing that our reward for if we had managed to beat Arsenal was that we would have played Lincoln at home in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, which would have been the most stupid thing ever in the world.
It would have been hilarious, especially there was some weird triangle going on with the FA Trophy, and we were supposed to be playing York, but they had to play Lincoln or something. I can't even remember how it went now.
I think we was on that weekend of the quarterfinals. I think we were actually due to play Lincoln, and I think
but we couldn't play them because they were playing in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
they were playing Arsenal, and York, who were meant to be playing Lincoln in the FA Trophy, couldn't play Lincoln because they were playing Arsenal, so they had to play us instead because we were supposed to be playing them anyway.
Yeah,
I can't remember. It was something like that.
Yeah, I think we're all thinking of the draw, thinking, hang on a minute, we're supposed to play Lincoln that weekend. Wouldn't it be weird if we drew Lincoln out of the hat that we can't play the league game because we're playing an FA Cup game? Sorry. But also, just the whole thing was surreal, amazing experience, and I'm going to be forever grateful for. A little bit jealous of some of our younger fans who kind of have seen it now, because I missed out on the Coventry one all those years ago because I was trying to be too polite to people.
How do you mean too polite to people?
Well, I just started supporting Sutton in the October-November time of '88, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And when the draw came out for Coventry, I think the year before Sutton had played Middlesbrough,
That's
and
right.
so everyone was saying, oh, they've drawn a big club again. So I kind of in my little brain thought, well, that must happen every year. And I've only just started supporting them, so I won't get a ticket for that game. I'll let other people who's been supporting them longer than me go.
How
And
adorably naive.
I will go to the next one, I said. 20
Well, you did,
Yes.
but it was just a little bit later.
29 years later. But it was just an amazing experience. And I loved every moment of it. I loved the fact that it's all over my Facebook time hops. Every year from now on, it's going to come up every for reminders of them.
A little reminder. There was a little reminder this season when we played Cambridge in the FA Cup, and their fans started chanting, "Who are you?" And I didn't quite have the guts to get it back, but I really wanted to say we're the team that beat Leeds, because you couldn't. If you remember when the draw was made, it was Leeds or Cambridge because they hadn't played yet.
Yes. That chant would have been a bit too long. I don't think you would have got anyone on that.
Yeah, it would have been a shout rather than a chant. And I think one person shouting often tends to sound a little bit aggressive.
Right, just want to have a little quick chat to finish off with. Looking forward to the games coming up that we've got. Guiseley at the weekend, who are obviously bottom of the league, which is a game that you would obviously expect us to win.
I wouldn't have done last season, although we did last season. We did beat Guiseley at home last season. It was a sort of game that we weren't winning last season, but this season we've turned that round a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's still every chance we could do what everyone refers to as do a Sutton and beat the teams at the top and struggle against the teams at the bottom, which I really hope we don't do, because I think we've got something like 5 or 6 of them to play.
Yeah, we have been much better at that playing lower play sides than we were last season, I have to say.
Yeah.
Last season I just had this big joke about. I had a friend who supports Woking, and when they came to us last season, I said, he was doing this, we're going to beat you, and I said, yeah, I know you are. We always lose to rubbish teams.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fun on Twitter with the people whose ACCAs we've just ruined, because we were a sure bet to beat team at the bottom of the league, and we mess it up somehow. So
that's just rude.
Yeah, that's always fun. Stop crying. And also the Surrey Senior Cup in the week. I know there's a lot of people who don't like the Surrey Senior Cup. To be honest, I'm kind of one of them, because I don't like Surrey FA. But I know you do really enjoy the Surrey Senior Cup.
I do. It seems to be an unpopular opinion these days, but I actually think the Surrey Senior Cup, it maybe not is, but should be a kind of nice old traditional competition, kind of going back to our roots a bit, if you know what I mean. And it's really kind of quite nice playing these teams that we never normally get to play. I have to say I do enjoy it, and it also. It's something that I feel that we should win more often. Traditionally, we were one of the big clubs in this competition, and we've won it quite a few times. And the only reason really we haven't won it for quite a long time is because, for very much understandable reasons, no criticism of the club at all, for very understandable reasons we haven't put out a very strong side. But it's actually really nice for us supporters to see how the academy boys are doing when they get a run out in the side for those games. And another thing I really like about it is how sometimes, especially this season, you've got a good mix of the academy and some first team players who are maybe sort of coming back from injury and so on. And I really like seeing them play together, because I think they've got a lot to learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I think they did this year, it was mostly academy, then it was academy plus a couple, and then it was a few more, and then I think the last game was about half and half, roughly. Started.
I really liked that lineup, actually.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's going to be fairly similar, except obviously we just heard today that one of those players won't be Bradley, who's just finally, it's just not happened for him, which is a little bit gutting, because he's always been a really nice guy. He's one of those you really want to do well.
Yeah.
But he's just never really had the chance, and obviously had that awful injury. But he's gone to, I think, Hampton. That's what they've announced today. So best of luck to him. But I'm sure we'll see players like Josh in the side. And hopefully, say, some of the nice academy players coming up will do well for us. And we've got another home draw in it for if we get through in the semi-final. I think it's a home draw again, and then the final's also at Green Lane.
Yes.
So if those academy boys are lucky enough, they could go through the whole competition never actually playing away. So.
wonder if that's happened before. It must have done. It
It
must have done at some point,
it must have. But it also must. I'm not sure now. This is one of those things I probably have got horribly wrong. But wasn't the Surrey Senior Cup final a few years ago when I was persuaded to go along and we lost? But that was one of the games Noel came to, one of the early games he came to, wasn't it?
That's right. It was one of those god awful games against Godalming, because we had two of them, didn't we?
I vaguely remember. Vaguely remember blaming myself because I hadn't come to any of the games and I was persuaded to go to the final and we lost. And then I discovered I think it was his first game, so I very, very quickly shifted the blame onto him. I just
he hasn't been to many. He hasn't been to many games. The Sutton, because he just isn't particularly interested. But he did go to that amazing FA Cup game at Leatherhead. Was it FA Cup? Yeah, a few years ago.
But I'm still.
He works in Leatherhead. He just happened to be.
Oh, I see. But I'm still going to blame him for the for the cup.
You blame him. He'll never know you blame him. I won't tell him.
No problem. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Especially as what people probably won't know is this is the second time we've done this, and this evening probably the fourth or fifth time we've attempted it. So really, really appreciate your time, Sarah. Thank you very, very much.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Okay,
and we got there in the end. So
yes.
That's all fine.
Thank you very much for your time, Sarah. It's very much appreciated, especially as we had to do this twice due to technical difficulties. Now it's time for another song. This is Wilde and Fielder with The Best Guy in the Room.
The best guys in the room. Why don't you see me? Look, it's me. She looks at a stranger who is me. He doesn't want her. Why does he have her? I really begin to wonder. The best guys in the your heart go boom. I can do it all for you. Is she playing games with me? Does she want me? Or is this fantasy? The best guys in the room. I can make your heart go boom.
Wilde and Fielder there with the best guy in the room. For more information, please find them on Facebook at Wilde and Fielder or under featured artists on the website. Next up, we have a chat with Nicky Bailey.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad at all. How's the injury? We're hearing 3 weeks. It's a tear.
Yeah, well, obviously I had the scan a couple of days after I'd done it, and it's come back that I've got a tear in my in the ligament in my knee. So obviously not the best of news, but not the worst of news either. So I hopefully will be back in about another 3 or 4 weeks.
Excellent.
On everything goes well. So
good news, and just in time for when we the real business end of the season. Just wanted to have a little chat today. Obviously, there's you were with us many years ago. Well, not that many years ago, because it makes us all feel old. And you went on to have a nice career through the football leagues. You kind of basically went through every single division almost year after year, didn't you?
yeah, well, obviously when I was younger, like I was at Fulham, and then I never got a YT or anything like that, so I never really made it like in the program when I was young. So then obviously I had to start like working my way back up through the leagues, and then there was a few boys that had been released from pro clubs who knew Martin Dunn, who was Phil Dunn's son, and basically we all just got together and sort of come down Sutton, like trialled for the youth team, and it just went on from there really. Obviously we broke into the Sutton first team, and then everything just sort of spiraled from there. And then I obviously signed for Barnet, and we won the conference the first year I was there, and that's how I got into the Football League for the first time. And then I just kept doing well and kept progressing through the leagues. But yeah, it's probably disappointment that I didn't make the Premier League, because it's the only league I've never played in. But I could say from where I started that I'll give it a good go.
Absolutely, yeah. And you, it was almost 1.5 million that Middlesbrough paid for you at the time.
Yeah, I think they paid 1.4 million for me to go up there. So obviously, when you start out, you never think you're going to go for a transfer fee of something like in that region. So yeah, it was a bit of a shock at the time, but obviously, while it was all happening, it was all good news.
And you went up there as a free-scoring attacking midfielder, and then Tony Mowbray said, "No, you're not."
Yeah, basically, because to be fair, I can see why. Because in training, I never ever used to play as an attacker. I was always at the back. I just hate losing in training, no matter what, whether it's a game or like a keep ball session or whatever. So I just think he saw that in me, and he just basically told me I don't see you as an attacking player, which I was obviously. I told him I think you're wrong, but it sort of worked out for me as well. Yeah, because I did quite well until I got injured, and then I just couldn't break back into the team for the last year that I was there. So,
and obviously less running nowadays as well. You just have to patrol that little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, and obviously I've been playing like at the back as well. So
yeah,
obviously learning like new positions and stuff like that. But obviously we've got a good squad. It's a squad that's growing as well down at Sutton, and just to be in the starting 11, you've got to be on your game. Where I think, as maybe in previous seasons, you would have sort of expected to play. So
yeah, well, I was going to mention this is definitely one of the strongest squads I can remember down there. Some of the players that aren't getting in the side and going out on loan, a couple of years ago, they would have been absolute shoo-ins and starting 11.
Definitely, 100%. And I think, like, especially where we are in the league, I don't think a lot of people thought we would have been able to sustain like our league position. But the likes of Josh Taylor and people like that have done well and come in. And obviously we've signed new players, but obviously Josh has had to go out on loan to get game time, because you don't play a lot of other matches, no, like resi games and stuff. They just don't happen anymore. So you've got to go out and play football just to keep your match fitness up. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's, as I say, it's the season we're having is a great season. We were never expecting it. What were your thoughts going into the season? Did you think it was going to be challenging, or?
Well, I think like our away form killed us last year, so that was the main thing. that we needed to improve this year, and obviously it's happened because our away form's a lot better than our home form. So
Yeah, I think
imagine
this
if our home form was as good as it was
last
last year,
year.
we'd be running away with it.
Um,
Yeah, if you're not good at away in this league, then you're not going to get nowhere. And I think that's where we know we needed to improve. But as a whole squad, the players we've brought in have done really well for us. And I think the gaffers used his like contacts wisely and got in the right personnel, and everyone's just like gelled with the team.
well, he does seem to do that. He does seem to find the right people, the right fit. He seems to have a good relationship with a lot of people, especially with people returning. I know you returned; you didn't play under him before, but you've had a lot of people like Harry returning, Ross returning, Tom returning. What makes him?
Well, I think he knows a good player because he wouldn't have him there in the first place. Obviously, some have like deserved, like played well, like Bolly, and got moves out of it, and obviously it didn't work out. So obviously, a player like him coming back into our squad, obviously he's got league experience now, so he's improved yet again as a player. You know that's going to be good for the team. So yeah, he's not silly, and to be fair, he brings in characters that knows will fit into this dressing room because we're quite a tough dressing room, but we all get on like really well. And if you can't like handle the banter that we've got, then you could be like find yourself in a bit of trouble. Do you know what I mean? So
we see snippets on Twitter every now and then, and we can only imagine then what's said if that's the stuff that's in public domain. We can only imagine what goes on away from everyone else. I was also going to just touch on is the obviously last year. This is the anniversary this week of our end of our cup run against Arsenal. What was that like to play in that whole cup run, and what was the sort of feeling all the way through?
well, I don't think anyone expected us to get that far for one, but it is the FA Cup, and you see year on year that shocks happen all the time. So obviously,
not 5 of them.
Not 5 of them. I think the gaffer spoke about it the other day when we was losing 1-0 at half time to Cheltenham, and we didn't perform at all. And he just come in and he said, "You ain't going to get many opportunities like this. Like we know we can play a lot better." And obviously, once we got the equaliser, like give us a bit more belief to then go on, like to beat a league club. And once we beat them, we knew we could beat a league club. So obviously, when we went into the next game, we've done it once. Why couldn't we do it again?
Yeah, the Wimbledon away was very, very.
Obviously, I got injured for that game. So
I know.
I was watching on the sideline, but obviously we went 1-0 down, and then they had a man sent off. But to be fair, even before they scored, we was playing all right. But yeah, what a day! Like the way that we won it at the end. Do you know what I mean? It was, especially against a local team with a lot of Sutton fans down there. It was a really good feeling, to be fair.
It was very good. And your as I was obviously looking up a few things to talk to you about, I've remembered your moment of national fame where you appeared on the Match of the Day opening credits in your underpants.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like I probably forgot that the actual cameras in there and then just jumped in, not realising I didn't really have anything on. So, but yeah, I think a lot of people reminded me about that. To be fair, so.
I bet you're surprised that many people recognise you that split second, and everyone's like, "Hey, that's Nicky."
Yeah, I think the power body might give it away.
And also, one of the other things, as I was just doing a bit of research, is I saw you've been compared to Usain Bolt quite a lot. I don't know if you realised. Just how true is that?
To be fair, I don't really like to eat a lot before or after games, but I have on many occasions, because I've just like felt like I needed to get something in my body, and something is actually better than nothing. So I have done it probably more than 50 times. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
I've done it this year. Yeah.
Well,
But
for those who didn't realise, what the comparison is apparently Nicky has said somewhere along the line that he's never eaten a salad in his life, and he eats pre-match 9 chicken nuggets. I don't know why it had to be 9. Not every quote I found was 9.
yeah,
So
all the pictures are 9, I think, as well.
yeah, so yeah, very very interesting. So. What are your thoughts for the rest of the season? We got Guiseley coming up on Saturday. Obviously, they're they're bottom of the league. That
Yeah.
would definitely be a game we would expect to win. Um, how's the running looking? Are you looking that far ahead or?
No, I just think we got to like the gaffer and Baird, keep mentioning it. Every game's a cup final from now. Do you know what I mean? We've got 14 games left or something like that. And if we want to win the league, we have to win our home games, and that's number one. Whether it's against Guiseley or whether it's against the Wrexhams, like the big teams in this league. But yeah, to be fair, I think a lot of the lads, knowing that Macclesfield at the top, and when we went up there, the way they celebrated, like they'd already won the league, and the way they treated a few of the people, there's a bit of a hard like feeling going on there. Do you know what I mean? So if any of the teams, we wouldn't like them to win it. Do you know what I mean? So we'll be doing our all we can to catch them. Obviously, they're going to lose games along the way. This league this year has been probably like no other national league season ever, with like how tight it is and through the whole league. So, but as long as we make the playoffs, we get our playoff berths sorted from as early as possible. Get that gap between 7th and below, like 10 to 15 points.
Yeah.
And sort of relax a bit and then build from there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're up there for a reason, so there's no reason to believe that we can't do it.
No, of course not. The belief is fantastic. And just in your opinion, obviously you were away from Sutton for a while and came back to us. What is it about the club that sold it to you to come back? Because you clearly could have played at a higher level still.
Yeah, like I always knew I would come back one day. You know what I mean? I always like thought about it. I'd obviously come back and watched a few times, and just to put a Sutton shirt back on again, it meant a lot to me. I think where it all started, it would have been good to give something back to them. And then, to be fair, the gaffer, he tried to ring me a couple of times before, and I was still trying to look to get back in the league. And then I went back to Barnet, and I just didn't enjoy it. I weren't enjoying it, and I just come back off a few injuries at Millwall, and I was out for a whole season with calf tear after calf tear, and I just wanted to be enjoying my football again. And obviously I knew a few of the lads like Eastie from out of football, so I knew they had a good team and they were pushing to get promoted. So the gaffer sold it to me and just never looked back from there, really.
Excellent. And I think that is really important because you mentioned Eastie. He's played at various different clubs where it's not worked out and he's not enjoying it, and he's committed himself to quite a while now at Sutton. And is it because of he's enjoying it and he knows where he's playing?
Everybody knows Eastie can play at a high level. Everybody's not stupid, but he's enjoying his football, and I don't think he did that for a long time after when he left Arsenal. He might have had a few injuries, or he might not have been getting in some of the teams, but it just sort of gave him a new, I don't know, just that feeling to be on the pitch and like enjoying it again.
Cliche.
That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah,
really.
Cliche, but maybe feeling loved, feeling wanted, feeling.
Yeah, of course.
From the chairman to the fans, every single person is put behind the players on the pitch. That must make some kind of difference.
Oh, 100%. Like with Eastie, there's probably been a lot of interest for him, where like he could have gone to this club, gone to that club, but obviously money does play a part sometimes, because at the end of the day, football doesn't last forever, and you've got to try and make as much money as you can before you retire. But obviously that's not an issue for him, and that's obviously still why he's still at Sutton, because he probably thinks he can push on further where he's at the minute. So unless he got like a championship move or something like that,
Too much. Yeah.
And too much to turn down.
Yeah.
I
think Eastie will be here for a long time.
Excellent. And well, you lead me nicely on to what I was going to ask: is life after football? What's calling?
To be fair, I haven't started my coaching badges or anything yet, but it's something the gaffer keeps on getting on at me to do, because he might like me to stay on at the club and stuff like that after. So I just need to get my butt into gear really and just start doing it all. So I couldn't really see anything out of football. It's obviously all I've done all my life. So that's probably what I would go into and start looking at, and I've got to do it sharpish really. So
there's always a refereeing course. Okay.
Yeah, I think I don't think I'd be allowed on it. To be fair, some of them I get on with, but I could say probably 80% of them. I don't think that would be a good one for me.
Let's not name names, no, because that'll be dangerous. Lovely. Well, thank you very, very much, Nicky. Hope to see you back on the pitch soon, and hope we're all celebrating at the end of the season again, and Bobby doesn't tell us to keep off the pitch. All right, take care, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks very much once again to Nicky and Sarah. Before I sign off this week, I would just like to mention that Paul Austin has foolishly agreed to sign up to London Marathon, and he's looking for sponsorship. The link is in the Amber Planet forum, and it will also be in the blog to accompany this episode. Thank you for listening. Playing us out this week is the song that got most attention from last week's episode. It's Parallel X and The Return. Looking forward to the match against Guiseley, and hopefully we'll get the 3 points we need.
Figure it out, my head spinning off the mission, only made it out by the skin of my teeth, trying to work it out. Time's passed so fast that I don't know where. A whole lifetime lost, you see the grey hair. Is any of it real? Do I even care? It's all in the mind, am I even here? And everything's changed, nothing stayed the same. I've returned but I've changed everything but the name.
Believe it, talking about my future, see it. Something out of danger, be it. Up from illusion, feel it. Out of this fusion last time. Didn't even know it, the line. Drugs running through it, what life? Can I respect it, what life? Back to regret it. I now walk down the road, never know where to go. Still believe in my future. I now sit on my own, reflecting the tears. I'm starving, dreaming for 30 years. Believe it, talking about my future, see it. Something out of danger, be it. Far from illusion, feel it. Out of this fusion, I now walk down the road, never know where to go. Still believe in my future.
I'm sitting down here trying to figure it out. My head spinning off the mission, only made it out by the skin of my teeth, trying to work it out. Time's passed so fast that I don't know where. A whole lifetime lost, you see the grey hair. Is any of it real? Do I even care? It's all in the mind, am I even here? And everything's changed, nothing stayed the same. I've returned but I've changed everything but the name.
Believe it, talking about my future, see it. Something out of danger, be it. Up from illusion, feel it. Out of this fusion last time, didn't even know it, the line. Drugs run through it, wildlife. Can I respect it, wildlife? Back to regret it. I now walk down the road, never know where to go. Slowly leaving my future. I now sit on my own, reflecting the tears. I'm storming and dreaming for 30 years. Believe it, talking about my future, see it. Something out of danger, be it. Up from illusion, feel it. Out of this fusion, I now walk down the road.